and gentlemen, welcome back to another video, and welcome to a video where I am going to name my current favorite player on every NFL team. This has been kind of an ongoing request the last couple weeks. I've been seeing it pop up in comment sections on like every platform. So as a man of the people, I will do it. Also, Nugget fans, we own you. Couple of plugs before we hop into it. Don't forget to use code WyattzWorld on G Fuel, Waggle, or Prize Picks. By using my codes on G Fuel or Waggle, you'll save a discount on any of their products, and by using it at sign up on Prize Picks, you're gonna guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 entry. But remember, always play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Okay, so as we begin with the Minnesota Vikings, I would also just like to point out that these are going in order by division from the NFC North ending with the AFC North. Anyway, my current favorite player on the Minnesota Vikings is none other than Justin Jefferson. Kinda hard for him not to be your favorite current player, I feel. I know there is gonna be some old heads who really do like Harrison Smith, and more power to ya. But when it comes to just being the face of the franchise, being incredibly entertaining to watch at all time, and flat out just being arguably the best receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson takes the cake for my favorite player currently in Minnesota. Well, football that is. Anthony Edwards is my favorite Minnesota athlete. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers, my favorite current player there would probably have to be Jordan Love. I'm not crazy over anybody on that roster, but Jordan Love is the one that I probably pay the most attention to. And I'm also happy to see the guy doing well, considering the fact that so many people wanted him to fail specifically because he was a Packer. That'll bring us to Detroit, and this one I did have to think about a little bit because I do like guys like Jared Goff and Aiden Hutchinson. Amon-Ra is obviously great even though he's a little corny, but none of them compare to Jahmyr Gibbs at this time. Dude, Jahmyr Gibbs is so electric to watch, and it's even more fun to see it because the Lions haven't had a good running back realistically since Barry Sanders. That's probably an exaggeration, but seriously, Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back they've had in a really long time. And now ending the NFC North with Chicago, my favorite player on that team is actually Tremaine Edmonds. And yes, it's because he happened to be a Buffalo Bill for the first 4 years of his career, and I appreciate the work he did in Buffalo. Also, I just don't have a connection with anybody else on the Bears. I think DJ's kind of a douche. I support Rome, I support Caleb, but that doesn't mean they're my favorite players. Moving on to the NFC West now, starting with the Rams, give me Davante Adams. It would have been Matt Stafford if Adams hadn't signed there, but I've always loved Davante Adams, and I always will. One of the greatest to ever do it. Moving on to the 49ers now. My favorite player on that team is not even a question. It's George Kittle, and he also happens to probably be a top 3 favorite player of mine in the entire NFL. I mean, not only is he an elite all-around tight end, arguably the best tight end in the league, but the dude is also just a rock star of a human being. He's hilarious. Moving on to the Cardinals, I'm going to take Trey McBride here as my current favorite player. It would have been Marvin if he wouldn't have been so, just mediocre last year. Otherwise, I don't have a connection with a single person on that team. Well, actually, James Conner, but Trey McBride's still a dog. And ending the West with the Seattle Seahawks, my favorite player there is none other than Sam Darnold. The only other one I maybe would have picked is JSN or maybe Witherspoon, but Sam Darnold, after the year he just gave Minnesota, man, he's obviously going to be my favorite. Now flipping to the NFC East, starting with the Dallas Cowboys. My favorite player there is Brevin Spanford. I know him in real life. I mean, he's my friend's little brother. Obviously, he's gonna take the cake over there. Although I think it's funny because when I first met Brevin, dude, he was short and fat. He looked like an Oompa Loompa. He'll fuck me up if he ever hears me say that, but he's never gonna see this, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, fast forward like 3 years, I remember I ran into him at Chipotle and he came up and said hi to me, and I literally almost didn't know who he was. I was like, what the fuck? Dude, he was huge! Anyway, Brevin, I love you, and I hope you take off this year. Moving on to the Giants, without a doubt, Malik Neighbors. Although I do like Tyrone Tracy a lot. And I like Dexter a lot, too. But Malik Neighbors? I know it sounds premature to say it, but that man might be the most athletically gifted human being we are ever gonna watch. He ironically reminds me of Odell when he first started. Which I still think Prime Odell is one of the most talented receivers I have ever seen. Moving on to the Washington Commanders, my favorite player there is easily Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels. Holy fuck. Jaden Daniels. I only make that mistake 46 times a year. Jaden Daniels is single-handedly the reason that not only myself, but about 90% of America outside of that fan base actually paid attention to that team this year. And ending with the Eagles, everybody should know this one is obviously Jalen Hurts, a guy that I have supported since he was realistically at Alabama, but more so at Oklahoma and all the way into the league. I liked Jalen Hurts before he was cool. And ending with the NFC South and starting with the Buccaneers, my favorite player there is Big Mike, a guy who I've always talked very highly about. However, I do want to say, Big Mike, your time is ticking because Bucky Kentucky Irving is creeping right up the rankings there. I love him. The man is elite. Seriously though, I know I've said this a million times and I'll always say it about Big Mike Evans. Without a doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer. Moving on to the Saints. This one might shock some people, but my favorite player on the Saints is Brandon Cooks. I know he's not that great anymore, but he's still an active player and he's back on the Saints, and I think Brandon Cooks has had one of the most underrated careers of any current active player in the NFL. Brandon Cooks was a legitimate elite wide receiver for probably close to 8 years. After Brandon Cooks, we get the Carolina Panthers. I feel bad for Bryce Young because I am a big supporter of him, but he stands no chance to Adam Thielen. Justin Jefferson stands no chance to Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is my favorite Viking of all time, who happens to be currently playing on the Panthers, so it's undisputed. Adam Thielen is the Minnesota Dream. And ending with the Falcons, my favorite player there is Bijan Robinson, another player I've spoke very high about, and another player who I think is going to run the league with Jahmyr Gibbs once Saquon and Derrick Henry finally calm down. Okay, moving on to the AFC now, starting with the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills. Well, you guessed it, my favorite player there is Josh Allen, and he's also my favorite Buffalo Bill of all time. The greatest Bills quarterback of all time. He's arguably the greatest Bill of all time. Moving on to Miami, honorable mention Devon A-Chain, but he does not compete with the level of love and respect I have for Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle is a tremendous talent, and I think he's also very underutilized on that team right now because Tyreek has been overshadowing him. He is more than capable of being a number one receiver on a team, believe me. Moving on to the Patriots, my favorite player there, honorable mention to Drake May because I think he is going to be very good, but I still like Christian Gonzalez probably the most out of anybody on that team. That man is a pest of a corner, and in the best way and in the most respectful way possible. He is a damn pest. And ending with the Jets, my favorite person on that team currently is Quinnen Williams. Again, not only is he a tank, but Quinnen Williams is fucking hilarious. The guy could be a stand-up comedian if he wanted to be. I want the Vikings to go after him, I really do. That takes us to the AFC West, where we will start with the Kansas City Chiefs. My favorite player on that roster has to be Trent McDuffie because he's like the only player that doesn't make me want to drive my fist through the television. He's also a pest too. Not as big of a pest as Christian Gonzalez in my opinion, but he's a very good corner. Moving on to the Denver Broncos, honorable mention to Bo the Show Nix. I think he's gotten a lot of shit this year for being a good quarterback, which is ridiculous, but my favorite player on the Broncos is Pat Surtain, the best corner in the game. Moving on to the Raiders, we gotta go with Max Crosby, and honestly, other than him and Brock Bowers, I think that entire team is terrible, so I don't have much to say. And ending with the Chargers, honorable mention to Justin Herbert, but my favorite player on that team is Jim Harbaugh, and I know he's a coach, but Jim has a personality. Jim is a winner. Jim would cover up a murder for one of his players if he had to. In the best way possible, Jim Harbaugh is literally blatantly insane. Flipping over to the AFC South, starting with the Tennessee Titans. This one, I mean, I didn't want to say this because he's had a rough past, but that entire team is actually so shit. I have nobody to say other than Jeffrey Simmons. He's an elite player. Like I said, he has a rough past because there's a video of him in college doing something not very good at all. To be honest, it was terrible, but I like to think the guy has changed in some way, and honestly, I don't think I've heard of a single issue involving him in the NFL unless I'm horribly mistaken. Like I said, he's elite, dude. He's really good. Moving on to the Texans. Honorable mention, I always say the last name wrong, Stingley Jr. I think he's a beast. But I love Tank Dell, and I know he doesn't play that much, but Tank Dell, dude, that guy is an electric facility. He looks like Malik Neighbors in terms of explosiveness, dude. Like, he's really good. Just gotta stay healthy, man. Moving on to the Jags. Favorite player without a doubt. Without a shred of a doubt is Brian Thomas Jr., the greatest wide receiver in NFL history. Brian Thomas Jr. is talent. Everyone else is just mediocrity. And moving on to the Colts, my favorite player on that team, and he's been my favorite player on that team for quite some time, is Jonathan Taylor. Dude, I see him as like a top 5 running back in the league still, and some people do not give him any respect. And ending with the AFC North, starting with the Browns, give me Denzel Ward. The guy's elite and dominates in silence. I don't ever hear from him. Doesn't cause a scene, doesn't complain, just silently works. Moving on to the Bengals, it is Joe Burrow. I've been a huge Joe Burrow fan ever since he's been in the league, and I think he has just as big of an argument as Pat Mahomes as Josh Allen to be considered the best quarterback in the NFL. That brings us to the Ravens. Give me Derrick Henry. He's also another guy who just works in silence and absolutely dominates. You don't ever hear shit from Derrick Henry. All you see is results. And ending, we have the Steelers. My favorite player there is DK Metcalf, because again, I've always supported DK Metcalf throughout his career. Thought he was underrated, thought he was overhated, and now he's gonna play in Pittsburgh, where if I have to be honest, I don't think he's gonna do all that much better than he did in Seattle, but at least he ain't a sea hag. And that is gonna do it, ladies and gentlemen, for a video of me naming my favorite NFL player on every NFL team. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and had fun with it, and feel free to show any support because you know I appreciate it, and also let me know in the comments who your favorite players are. Anyway, as always, I'm gonna get this edited so you can watch it on time. Have a fantastic and safe rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you in the next upload.